So if we move forward and go back to a gold standard, how does that look to you? Because one of the challenges that I see is that we do have to have a derivative system on top of gold. If we have a gold-backed currency, we're trusting a central bank or a gold custodian of some sort to be honest about how much gold they have on reserve relative to the certificate in whatever form is in, what that backing is.
That's why it has to be redeemable.
Yeah.
That's exactly, because you can take a look at Zimbabwe, which I've been following since 2006. They are now on their 6th iteration of a fiat money. And this last one, Zim Gold, because it's 40% backed by gold, but it never was in anything other than digital form. And you could not redeem the gold out of the money. So they came out with it in April of 2024. And then they did a 44% overnight revaluation in October of 2024. So exactly to your point, I agree with that 100 bazillion %. But if it's redeemable, the likelihood of 100% of the people going in and redeeming it at once, that's a bank run.
Right.
Right?
How do we prevent sociopathic overlords from colluding with banks and creating things such as bank holidays to prevent that bank run from happening? Because the way I think about what's happened historically is essentially that has happened. And so you can't expose the dishonest market participant, the gold custodian that is got out over their skis and issued more of a derivative than they have underlying asset on reserve.
I mean, that's the whole fractional reserve system. But what you do is you hold it.
Right.
If you don't hold it, you legally do not own it. And it really is just that simple. So yes, if it's redeemable, then that holds their toes to the fire if you have the ability to do that. To your point, we did it here. We did it first with the public in 33 and then with the rest of the world in 71. Because there was a run. You know what? You might not know this, but again, if you want any of these images or the links or anything like that, you let me know. I'll get them to you. But there was a run on the dollar in the 60s with foreign governments sending in dollars and pulling the gold out of the system. So that by the time that Nixon closed that gold window, which sounds like, no big deal. It was a very big deal. But by the time he did it, we had less gold in our coffers than we did prior to the confiscation in 33. Had he not done that, we would have no gold. And that kind of takes us to Fort Knox with all of these conversations about doing an audit, and then it went dead silent. Why did it go dead silent?
Seems to me that the United States government was being dishonest about how much gold they had.
They would never do such a thing. Oh my gosh.
The supply of Bitcoin is auditable every 10 minutes by computers all over the world. And some of the Bitcoiners, including myself, like that because you can't audit the supply of dollars, gold. Very difficult to do so. And you were mentioning, I forget how you put it, but effectively like the market value of anything is going to be
Oh, yeah. We were talking about
intrinsic value or fundamental value.
It's ultimately, once the markets, there will come a point, because in markets, it's all about confidence, right? So when the public loses confidence in the currency, in those that are in power, right? Which we're super close to. I can't tell you exactly the moment, but we're very, very close to that. That's when the government is attempting to regain public confidence, that's when you will see gold go to its fundamental value. How do you know what that number is? Well, it's really simple. Since fiat is money, fiat is the definition is by decree. So that's government money that says, here, this is worth $100, even though it costs them nothing to make. But hey, this is $100. When that public confidence is lost and they're attempting to regain it, which is what was happening in Zimbabwe, but it's too far gone, then they do an overnight revaluation and they do it against gold. That's why you see global central banks accumulating more gold than they ever had since tracking has begun, and especially in the last 4 years. Tremendous. Actually, they started in 2005. Because when they do that, whoever holds the gold, this is about freedom outside of the system. So how do you know what that number is? Okay, how's money created? Debt. So you take I do this globally because this isn't just a US issue, this is a global issue. So you take all the debt that they have grown, because that's a proxy for how much fiat money is out there. And then you take how much gold exists in the world since it's indestructible. Right?
How's that measured?
Ounces or grams.
Okay.
It kind of depends on where you are.
So we have to take the word of the gold custodians and how much they have on reserve.
Well, we know how much has been pulled out of the ground. Like it's not just coins or bars. It's any form at all. So we know how much has been pulled out of the ground. And then, we got to take the word of the Department for the Interior. But actually, it doesn't really matter, because anything that's physical, anything, it can be lumber, it can be bottles of water, it can be gold, it doesn't matter. Anything that's physical, there is a finite amount, and you simply divide all of the debt. I'm making it super simple for most people to understand, right? You just take all the debt, you divide it by all the gold that has ever been mined and is yet in the ground, according to the Department of the Interior, and that gets you somewhere around $40,000. Now, that is today, if they were to do that overnight reset on a 1-to-1 basis. By the time they actually do that reset, it could be $3 trillion. But understand the dollar has no value, so it doesn't really matter. And what gold has proven over all these years is not just silver's proven that it can buy the same goods and services over time. And the way that I've proven this is really simply using the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is, I'll take the L out of the middle and you can figure that out. But I can get consistent numbers from 1913, anytime that I want up until the most current publication, right? So a standard basket of food was up between 1913 and the last time I did it, something like 2,500 and whatever percent. Spot silver, manipulated as it may be, was up same period of time over 3,000%. So it maintained your ability to buy the same thing. Spot gold, manipulated as that is, was up over 13,000%. So it maintained your ability to purchase the same goods and services, but it also expanded your ability. So it gives you an opportunity for growth. And with spot at 3,500, and you brought this up, so I want to come back to this, but with spot at 3,400, 3,500, wherever it is a huge bargain. Now, the stock market at all-time highs, you can only convert those into dollars, can't you? So what's the real value there? Zero. Because the Federal Reserve is actually, you go in there and you look at the purchasing power and you'll see a big fat goose egg on the bottom of that left-hand axis. They are telling you the true value of the dollar is zero. So anything that you can only convert into those dollars, what's that true value? Zero. Fundamentally zero. I personally have a $10 trillion Zimbabwe note. I can buy nothing with it. Nothing. So, but people get blinded by numbers. They think that numbers matter. They don't really matter. It's
Totally.
just a smoke screen, right? I don't care how many dollars I have. I care what I can convert it into. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are really struggling with the basic necessities of life.